Good evening, Oral Gibbs, and welcome to Oral Gibbs Live, coming to you live here from World Star Studios at Amsterdam Shopping Center. And this evening, I have a very, very distinguished guest. I call this person, ask them if they can be my guest. I think it's at the right time. You know, we've been going through some difficult times on this island for many, many years, but this evening, I'm honored to have a true St. Martin patriot, one that's been fighting for many, many years for the right of St. Martin. The one and only, this is Daniella Jeffry. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, and good night to your TV viewers and wherever they are, because I think you are also on the internet.
Well, we will post this so you'll see. Yeah.
Okay. So yes, it's quite some time that last time I was here, it was for the presentation of the second edition of 1963.
Yeah.
And well, I'm happy to be here under those trying circumstances we are going through. So I'm happy to share with you and your viewers.
Well, it's good to have you here, and thanks for accepting the invitation, because when you look at St. Martin today, I am not too happy with the things I'm hearing coming out of Paris and The Hague and the attitude towards St. Martin. And I don't know how you feel about it.
Well, you know, when the report came out, it was 2 months ago. It was 2 months ago. It was in August during your campaign. I reacted immediately when I can see that you have a deputy from France, an MP, a parliamentarian, that is denouncing our 1648 treaty. That really make me question what is going on. And the description, the so incorrect description of the reality, where France welfare money, because that's what it is, France welfare money is making the Dutch side rich. But the Dutch side fared well before the arrival of the French and during the defiscalization. Okay? So for me, it was a very incorrect description of reality. And knowing that our deputy, which is supposed to represent us in the Parliament of France, have not rectified that, I sent him an email immediately telling him how I'm quite disappointed that this type of information could come out, and he should know better because he lives here, he understands better the reality.
Did he respond to your email?
Yes, he responded to it, and he told me that he will meet me, because I tell him I cannot tell him exactly what I have to say in those 2-3 paragraphs. I say we need to talk. And we had an hour discussion when he came, a week after he came back. And of course, he understood. You know, he's a gentleman that I know very well. He's one of my ex-students, very polite and so on. He tried to tell you that in a sense he's not exactly responsible for what this gentleman is saying. But I mean, you representing us.
Right.
So that should have been counteracted somewhere. Especially you all came, you say they say they interviewed a certain amount of people. Yes, but I mean, you practically endorse it. And the French papers, they say that he accepted the idea. I said that this is not good for St. Martin. You are not representing St. Martin.
And I think I feel the same way, because in fact, I got a call from you, speaking about MP Daniel Gibbes. I got a call from him last week. He's going to be here in this program next week. I think he owes the people of St. Martin an explanation, because being an MP for St. Martin in Paris and hearing a French parliamentarian colleague speak like this about St. Martin gets me angry. And I think gets a lot of St. Martin people angry, so they want to hear what their representative have to say about it.
This is my last sentence in the email I sent him. And of course, he agreed with that. But this is it. But the people of St. Martin, I told him, has a history, traditions, a language, an aspiration for its future. And all this have been violated, have been trampled to serve the interests of a few during the 30-year development we had. So I told him it is us to decide about our future, not a parliamentarian in Paris. And I tell him I'm ready to develop my ideas with you, and this is, and so he went on that. He didn't really emphasize on what the gentleman said. He said he agrees with that. Yes, you agree with that. So if you agree with that, we expect you to have the courage to not allow a parliamentarian that is working with you on a report to come with conclusion that is not in agreement with what you should think. You understand?
Yeah.
So this is where there is a weakness there.
Now, some people are saying, well, you know, some of the things that the French member of parliament said about St. Martin is true and some isn't true. Well,
I don't agree with that. We can develop those things. Let me say something. He's saying that all the monies, the welfare monies, are spent on the Dutch side. That is not true. I would like them to make a survey of the money that goes through Western Union and all those international transfers of money. And you are going to see the money that stays here are minimal in the budget of those people that get the welfare state money. I'm not talking about the St. Martin people, I'm talking about the immigrants. They are 80% beneficiaries of that welfare money. 80%.
These immigrants that you're speaking about,
yes,
do they hold a French passport?
They told me yes, but I don't think so. I don't think so. They told me yes, there's not can't be so much of people with French passports.
So you can get that CAF money without holding a French passport?
Apparently. Apparently. Because you just have to be legal. The CAF money legalized practically the women.
Explain CAF for some people who don't understand what it is. So
CAF is a welfare state money that is given when you are pregnant. You can get it from the beginning because the laws of France covers pregnancy, and afterwards you have all access to the social and medical system in any French country. And when you are poor, you have nothing, they give you the money to sustain you and your children. And the more children you make, you can get that money. There is another allowance that is called femme isolée, mean you don't have a husband or a family, you don't have a husband in your house, so you can get an extra. That's an extra. And most people trying to get as much as they can. Okay? So what happens is that you are not having a man in your house, but you can have children. So they just make children and make children. There is no family planning anymore. Before, I remember in the 80s, we had a family planning association that used to come to St. Martin and work with the people in St. Martin. That don't exist because that CAF money is a source of revenue. And the life that they force those women to live in order to get the maximum money from those allowances is destroying family values. And it reached to the point where now, in the last 2 years, we have, so that child that is born, he will get the nationality only when he gets 18 years. Okay? No more. We have these women that come, and mostly I understood are women from Santo Domingo. They come pregnant and they look for a man, French or Dutch, to acknowledge them, the child in their belly. It's not the man's child. So what happened is that when that child is born, that child is French. And the collectivity, the registry of the collectivity, goes about acknowledging them. Whereas that, they could stop it, because they have already condemned a gentleman that had practically something like 10 children with each different women, and they get paid. So they are paid between $2,000 to $3,000 to acknowledge a child. So it's a business, okay? So what happened is that this woman, she came pregnant, okay? But, I mean, you couldn't see the pregnancy, but she's now going to be followed by the medical system, okay? So since the medical system do not have to check if you are legal or illegal, so they get all the services. And then from the moment that child is born, that child is French. So then she is taken care of by the medical services that will open all the facilities for them to have all the help possible.
So now what happened?
So,
yeah,
yes.
Go ahead.
So from that time, she becomes a legal person because of that child. And apparently they brings in now the father of the real father of the child, they comes in, and it happens so that that person who acknowledged them is not with them, doesn't live with them, and they just go as far as to take them to courts to pay them alimony.
So now that
this is the situation we're having today.
So now that we establish this CAF and who applies for it or who's eligible for it, now you have members of the French Parliament saying this money is given to these people, and they run to the Dutch side and spend the money, correct?
No, who they're referring to? They're referring to the civil servants that changed their euro money. They're mostly referring to the civil servants that changed their euro money and spend on the Dutch side.
You should be free to spend your money wherever you want.
Wherever you want. What they are not seeing, they are not seeing that a lot of those people, those foreigners, lives on the Dutch side. And they come over to make their children on the French side. He avoiding to that situation, and that is a situation there. They only seeing, because even everybody will exchange. I mean, this is a normal situation, and France is a normal situation. There's a lot of things in Belgium that is cheaper than in France. The people cross the border and go over there. They have bring down their borders. We never had any borders, and they want to put up borders. So that is why I say this is just, I feel, because it's not the first time. There was, you remember the Franco-Dutch Treaty?
Yeah.
We were against it here in St. Martin. I personally was vocal. I wrote an article about it because it was very discriminatory, because it was practically allowing the Europeans to come in freely and blocking certain of our Caribbean people. So it was not in favor of the Caribbean people, and therefore we find that it is not just. What happened is that at that time they was thinking and I have it, I remember I translated and it passed it on to Marcel Gomes, that was in the Parliament of he was Senator in the Antilles. And they was even proposing that they should buy the Dutch side. One of the parliamentarians was proposing in the preamble of the law. So, you know, I think they just flinging that out in order to test the grounds to see how we are going to react, because they can't get it done so easy. We are still a democratic country. The people has a voice.
But they're acting as if the people is not relevant.
If they got to touch our treaty or try to, it got to come to a referendum. And that is what the people has to demand. They cannot touch that. This is a historical document, and nobody will touch it, because this is our constitution.
I think we have to explain here what the 1648 treaty is all about, because to just speak, people don't realize how important it is in the free movement of people.
And first of all, they self didn't read it. The Treaty of Concordia is not a treaty of cooperation between the French and the Dutch. The French and the Dutch practically are not concerned in the treaty itself. When they say in the French, it is the residents, the people in those days, the Saint Martin people. So it is a treaty of cohabitation. That is what the treaty gives you, and it was not for the French in Europe, nor for the Dutch in Holland.
Saint Martin people.
It was for the Saint Martin people. And there is where I would say, as we went along, because all the time up to the 50s, it was we were governed by that the letter of the treaty, the idea of the treaty, and you had a people that were called Saint Martin people because of the treaty.
Both sides. Both sides. Can't divide us.
Okay, when they created the regional centers, Curacao and Guadeloupe, they first created Guadeloupe. They just include us automatically without asking our opinion as a commune of Guadeloupe. But understand that up to then, Saint Martin was an autonomous colony of France. We were just attached administratively, but we were a total different people, total different history. Even during slavery days, it was not the same as in Guadeloupe and Martinique.
But in your last book, you also spoke about how Saint Martin survived without France.
Definitely. And they were not colonized by France after 1848. The people were free, and they owned the land. It's the black people, the few planters, colonists that were there, they were ready to share up the land with the black people, because since 1838, the people was just leaving and going to Anguilla, and from the moment, Anguilla or St. Kitts, from the moment you go to a free country, you were free. They would not come back. So the plantation were not prosperous at all after 1838. So we have a disruption of the plantation system from 1838 to 1848. So in 1848, we had 2 petitions they sent to the French Parliament to tell them to abolish slavery before 1848. But because most of the names were English names, they didn't pay attention to it. They just reinforced the police service, the beaches, but the people would go away still because you had St. Kitts and you had Anguilla. So that is what happened at that time. So when Saint Martin people became free, they were free, real freedom. They had no bosses at that time. They owned the piece of property on the plantation where they was, and they start working on their own. They work the land, they work the properties, and that's how it is. And everybody develop and live according to the condition on the island.
I have to go to a break, but I want to come back and speak with you very briefly on the Treaty of Concordia before we move on, because I think it's very important.
Yes.
We're going to be right back. Please do this.
Bob, I see you got a new couch. Now you don't have anything else to worry about. Uh-oh, but don't worry about it. With your Be Sure home insurance, the contents of your home are all covered for free.
Are you be sure? Be sure.
Yeah, for free.
Welcome back to Oral Gibbes Live, coming to you live here from World Star Studios at Amsterdam Shopping Center. With me this evening is so distinguished guest, Daniella Jeffry, local historian, written numerous books about St. Martin. Tonight we're speaking about St. Martin and the problems we are going through here on Oral Gibbes Live. You know, and the Treaty of Concordia, we always hear people talk about it. I think they should teach it in school and let children memorize it.
Explain it and everything.
Yeah.
Well, the 2 first is about the physical part, where they say one in the north, and they didn't talk about frontiers, okay? But the 3rd one, that the French and Dutch established on the said island, they didn't say the French and Dutch in Europe, shall live as friends and allies, okay? And that, in case of either party molesting each other, this shall constitute an infringement of the present agreement. So this is a treaty of cohabitation. You have to live as friends and allies. You should not trespass, and it is a violation to the treaty. Okay. That if the French or the Dutchman, that's number 4, being guilty of a criminal act or an infringement of this agreement or of disobedience to the command of his superior, or shall move to the territory of the other nation, the contracting parties commit themselves to have such person arrested in their quarter and to deliver him to his governor on the latter's first request. So it is clear that the importance of this treaty, if you go against it, if you don't live as friends and allies, you infringing the treaty, and you can be taken to court at that time, okay? Number 5, they're saying that everything is common shall serve to provide for the needs of the inhabitants. They didn't say Europe, they didn't say French European or Dutch European. That French persons who are presently residing with the Dutch, that's number 6, shall be allowed to join the French if it so pleases them. And this is the free movement.
Right.
To take their movables, foodstuff and money and other commodities with them, provided they have settled their debts. Provided they have settled their debts. That is very important. They consider the question of honesty, the question of be sincere, right, and morality that we have here, or given sufficient guarantee. The Dutch shall be able to do likewise. So when today they saying that the treaty is about cooperation, it is not about cooperation. It is about how you have to live as friends and allies. That if enemies, this is number 7, should attack either quarter, the parties to this treaty shall be obliged to render each other aid and assistance.
Imagine.
So everybody who come from away have always been considered by us as foreigners.
Instead, the year with that was more, that document was completed.
1648?
Yeah.
Yeah.
March, right?
Yes,
Okay.
March, the 23rd of March.
March 23rd.
This is a very important document. And they say enemies, people who come to attack you. This gentleman is attacking us. So we have to join. That's what the treaty says. You are obliged to render each other aid and assistance. Anybody come on a boat is not a Saint Martiner according to this treaty.
But you know, Jeffrey, today, both the Dutch government and the French government are attacking us.
Because of the ignorance of our history, because we have lived. You cannot eliminate a treaty. We have lived by it until we get those centers. And when we get those centers, what became important is the Dutch law and the French law. Although it took some time before the French law was really applied. And that time is when we became a collectivité. Because when we were a commune, no real French laws.
Is that the reason why there's such resistance on the northern part of St. Martin?
Yes, because the idea of the collectivité has changed everything. They make people believe they were becoming autonomous, and there is no autonomy. It's the contrary. We are more linked. Now, they were complaining that we were run from Guadeloupe. Now we are run from Paris. And the people are saying, and when I remember for the campaign for this Article 73 or 74 at that time, they avoid saying what will be the relationship with France. But we will be directly linked with France. And what does that mean? That means exactly what is said today. They put aside Guadeloupe, although since we don't have all the institutions and they did not prepare for this change of status. They accept responsibility. They did not prepare the people. They did not prepare the civil service. Guadeloupe still have to render that civil service. So we have a kind of double form of domination, which is an administrative domination, because understand that the administrative services, even in Guadeloupe, it is called département, but that is French. It's the French civil service that is and Guadeloupe, because most of all the heads of those services are French people that are sent from France. You will have Guadeloupeans at the lower levels, okay, as assistant or at the lower levels, and we see that very well.
Is it safe to call that a colonial system?
Yes.
But the French will say it's a republic.
Yes. But if it is a republic, then we, as citizens of France, they shouldn't be discriminating against us. And we should have the possibility to be head in our little regions.
It's not the case.
It is not the case. But that's the difference between the British Islands and the French Islands. The British Islands, they make sure that their people had everything because of the approach to people is different in both colonial system. The British tend to be offhandish. You handle your affairs. You are our subjects. France is assimilating you. They assimilate you, and when they assimilate you, they discriminate against you. You are not capable of holding this position. We got to send our people.
You tend to believe it too after
yes,
a while.
of course. Because everything, it's a mental domination. It's a psychological thing. And when they get your mind, then afterwards everything becomes easy.
But how you feel? Because
we feel bad. I mean, a person who is brought up as a Saint Martiner, who has gone through our freedom, you see, and who has realized, and I guess my experience is not the experience of the man of the street. I was able to experience, I lived 9 years in Madagascar. Madagascar is one of those countries that was hurt by colonialism. And I had the opportunity to see them rise against the colonial system after they became independent, but they became independent with politicians that were chosen by France to run the country. Instead of using their own leaders, they get rid of their leaders and they put in politicians that will accept what France would say.
But you know,
and I see that change.
But you know something, Mr. Jeffrey, I've known you from the time I came back from the States studying back in early 1980s. You are not a Johnny-come-lately. You have been at this all of life.
Because of that experience that I had. You know, because it happened immediately when I reached 74 and 74, I see, the prefect trying to get rid of Dr. Petit and trying to put the opposition party together with two different ideology, trying to put them together. And I studied the French colonial system. That is the time when they were having problems with New Caledonia, and they applied the same rule. It was the prime minister at that time, then he became minister of overseas, and they were fighting Petit that was resisting the presence of the French system on the island. And from then that was it. And I experienced that. So I was conscious of what was happening because I see how it was in Madagascar.
But there's a problem on this island, both French and Dutch, north and south. And when we say north, we're referring to the French side, and south to the Dutch side of St. Martin, in that you have all educated people who are educated abroad come back, and they're extremely silent. Very, very, very silent.
As I say, education is not, when we are educated in a system that is colonizing your mind, you cannot be better. You know, everybody do not use that opportunity of education in order to get their own education. I don't know if you understand what I mean. Get your own education. I remember because I had the opportunity to get out of the French system and go into other countries that were colonial countries and understood the history of colonialism, I was very sensitive. And just from that I say, well, when I go back, I go research my history. Because if the people don't know their history, they cannot combat that because it's a mental, it's a psychological domination. And if you don't know yourself, you will be dominated.
But the sad
And if you are in the system, you get your education through them, and you didn't try to elevate yourself and understand other situations. We cannot understand France if we don't know France's colonial history.
Well, you know, and that's why I say that since 1980, we have more educated people on St. Martin. We have those that educated in Holland call themselves Dr. Anders, so with a degree, a master's degree, called Dr. Anders. But you don't find these people involved, so you can count them on your fingers, on your two hands. How many persons on both sides of this island really stand up and try to defend St. Martin? And you're one of them. And I'm trying to figure out if there's any other on the northern side. I can't figure out any more, and probably a few on the Dutch side.
It's not easy, because as I tell you, they haven't done their own research. They haven't developed outside of the colonial structure.
So when are we going to make that next move?
We got to get out of the colonial structure. Even though you're educated in the colonial structure. And the point, as I say, it's a psychological thing. You go and also the fact that some of us, I would say, got still this system as this colonial system is better, because in St. Martin we were not able to develop any, we did not become independent with the assimilation principle of French colonialism. We were not able really to develop ourselves. We always had to go somewhere else. And if you stay in the French system, well, you will stay in that type of domination. You will not get out of it. But all the others who went in other countries think differently.
All right. Well, maybe that's why, because I studied in America,
yes,
probably.
You think differently.
We're going to be right back, and then we're going to also include your telephone calls. Please stay with us.
At Nagico, the things that matter to you matter to us. Like knowing you're fully covered after an accident, the security of your home and everything in it that means so much to you. And knowing that even when the weather does its worst, you and your family are covered. At Nagico, we're about much more than just insurance. We're about the big things and the small things that mean everything.
In case you've just joined us, you're watching Oral Gibbes Live. I'm here speaking with Mrs. Daniella Jeffry, and she's a historian and a fighter for St. Martin. We're also taking your calls at 5422170, 5422170. You have a question or comment. Now, how you feel about St. Martin today, you know, and the future based on this whole Treaty of Concordia that may not last too long?
Yeah. Well, it has to. If we want to survive as a people, we have to include the treaty into the whole future development of St. Martin. Because as we see, as we go along, and then as the regional centers have been created, we have seen now that we don't want to be part of the regional centers anymore. So if we don't want to be part of the regional centers, and we have to consider that St. Martin is composed of 3 heads, not 2. You have the Dutch with its laws, the French with its laws, and you have the people with its history, and this history originates from the Treaty of Concordia.
And our culture.
Okay, yeah. And all our tradition that came out of that. So we need to reevaluate that. Now that we don't want to be part of the centers, the regional centers anymore, we got to get back together. We got to get back together, get back the spirit of our treaty, devise the fact that the development of that, the people, the human factor. Because when you're developing, when you see, as I say, the good word is hijacked. Those 2 nations has hijacked St. Martin and are leaving us bare, destroyed, you know, pulling on both sides, and we have forgotten who we are. So the point is to re-examine the treaty, and we don't have to change it. We just have to make other agreement and conventions that can suit modern time. But that spirit of the treaty has to remain, because that is our constitution. That is the document that has served to create the settlement Saint Martin, because those are the words in those days. It was a settlement, and people from different, not even, they weren't French and Dutch. Yeah. They were all around. They were Danish, they were Italian. We had all kind of planters in those days.
But you know,
you had no Dutch and French people.
You know, some random people, like people in the U.S., in the Midwest, we don't like government interference. We like government all of our lives. I think we're getting more government now than before.
We didn't have it all through the history. That's why we don't like it. The government was very far. The little government that we had here came from Curacao in those days. We used to regulate certain things. But the representatives, the governors here, they had their full power. That's why I say we were colonies, but autonomous colonies, okay? And that makes sense. So from autonomous colonies, then after we became autonomous from within the Netherlands Antilles, and now we we have got out of the Netherlands Antilles to go where? The only way we could go is go back to the original document that can guide us into our future.
How do you feel about political independence for Saint Martin?
Well, we have to work towards it, because we have to maybe not talk directly about political independence, but we have to talk about unifying this island, because economically, one side cannot survive without the other. You cannot have one side having a parliament and can anytime, as Mr. Gunevel told us, is one step away from being independent, and the other side, we got to unify, we got to harmonize our situation, and of course it's going to be done first by the one who attain a certain amount of independence.
Which is this side.
Yeah, this side, yes. And after you are independent, then you have a nation, and that nation will be Saint Martin, and every Saint Martiner of origin will be entitled to that nationality.
Well, you know, my dream is to see a unified Saint Martin.
But that is the only goal. It's unification.
And only survival.
And it will not be in my lifetime or your lifetime, but we got to set the foundation, and the foundation will come out of the treaty. We will be able to create our history and teach it in schools. And gradually we will develop into loving our country, loving who we are, and appreciating who we are. And that's what it is. You go in all the other islands of the Caribbean that has practically the same history as us. Independence has created that.
But you know, European countries have been very good at destroying leaders who in any way question their authority. In 1991, the late Dr. Claude Watty gave his last real speech, St. Martin Day, and that was the end of Claude. That speech, I have it, the document. Okay, it's 1991. In that speech, his political future and everything, that was it. So history.
Yes, because the word is very scary, and when people is accustomed of dominating you, they take pride of that. That's the ego that a nation would build, and you have to understand that the interest is much more than, it's not the physical island, it's not the geography. Understand that because of, let us take France. Because of France's overseas territories, she has become the second maritime maritime country in the world after the United States. So this gives an aura, a possibility to be in international conferences that she wouldn't be if she just had her. And France, more than anyone else, any other nation, would try to keep what they have. So it's a kind of conflict, and it's a matter of strategizing how best we have to go there. But just flinging the independence issue, I don't think it's scary. Even for the population, it would be scary. What we need to do is develop qualities because we were already autonomous in our mind. We were independent-minded people.
Hold that thought for me. Let me take a call for you. Oral Gibbes live in caller. Hello. You're on live caller. Hello.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Miss Jeffry.
Good evening.
I listened to the whole conversation, but my opinion on what the French and the Dutch is doing actually it seems to me as though they have a bigger plan for this island. But we just forget that they brought us here. We're doing just like we were from here. They brought us here. The lady there too. Our ancestors, everybody, we come in without passport or what have you. These people forget that. You know, we just get we sit madness and a bunch of things, but they got plans for us. We're going to put up a bigger fight than we are portraying right now, you know. It's going to get worse than this. That's all I really have to say. We got to be careful, you know, because these people brought us here without passport. They just dump us on ships and what have you and bring us here. And now we stand up like we from here. We from here, yeah. But we are, you know, I'm frustrated to see what's going on and what's taking place with this border business and coming over here. But it always was like that. Slave trade. You know, we used to, you know, move from French, Dutch all the time. It should stay like that. But they have a bigger plan. Then rock out some out, and then Europe decided for us down here. Have a great night and success with everything. Good night.
Good night.
I don't totally agree with the caller. In the sense that he's saying we were brought here. Slavery was the economic system of the day. Take the British Islands. They were brought there too. But when they were ready to emancipate themselves, okay, Britain created a structure, she called it the Commonwealth. And she gave them that freedom. That is a human rights. Okay? So I don't, not because they bring me here, that was the economic system of the day for how many, 300, 400 years? Okay? They have to respect that we are human beings. Okay? And if we are human beings, they brought us here, yes, but who? We have to go through more in details in the history of St. Martin to understand how the black people came here. And it was not the Dutch and the French necessarily. Maybe the Dutch were more involved because they came here for the exploitation of the salt ponds. Okay? But the French was not in that situation. Okay? For many years until the 63, it was abandoned. Okay? So we cannot think that way today. We are human beings entitled to all the human rights that is in the declaration of the United Nations Declaration. We cannot think that nobody bring us here. Because when we needed, and especially France, when we needed France, that country was not there. After the abolition of slavery, she left us alone. We didn't complain. We built this island until today, okay? And now, we are entitled to our human rights. I don't totally agree with that we have to allow them. I agree with the idea that we have to put up a bigger fight. Okay. I agree with.
I'll tell you what, we got to go to a break. When we come back, we'll continue right here on Oral Gibbes Live. Please do this.
Finally, you saved up some money, but now you got to pay insurance for a whole year. So long, piggy bank. But wait. With Be Sure, you can pay per month with no additional costs.
Are you be sure? Be sure.
Yeah, per month.
At SXM, we're taking travel and tourism to new heights. Here we boast spacious check-in areas, 10 passport control points, comfortable departure lounges, and an exciting new airport mall. Finally, there's an airport in the Caribbean that takes your travel plans as seriously as you do. Princess Juliana International Airport.
In case you've just joined us, you're watching Oral Gibbs Live. My guest this evening is St. Martin historian, Ms. Daniella Jeffry. We're here speaking with her. And, you know, it's amazing because I think of all the islands in the Caribbean, St. Martin is the most unique because we did everything for ourselves until the last, 20, 25 years. And all of a sudden, European countries are coming and say, hey, look, no, we're going to tell you how we want it to be done now, from now on.
It's not possible. It's too late. They had to do that in 1848.
I like how you...
Let me emphasize on that.
Go ahead.
Okay. I think we have to get out of the kind of mentality where we did not take hold of who we are. Nobody, they bring you to a country, what they bring you. It was the economic system of the day. You had a choice. A lot of people were brought here. Because they were brought here, they have nothing to say. I say, since then, we have the abolition of slavery. When you abolish slavery, you let go. So it's no question of being brought here. When the slavery was abolished, we become citizens. So that's it. It's done. Slavery is abolished. It's done. Don't come back 160 and 180 years later, say that you got to control. And if we didn't get through with it, it's still their fault because it was, slavery was a crime. And there had to be some payment so that we can evolve as human beings after. And if we are still thinking in the way where, because they brought us, so no. There was a decree, abolition decree, and that is the meaning of the abolition decree. You are on your own.
Yeah. And I think for many of our people, sometimes it's hard to understand and to let go because too often we feel that we are not capable of handling our own affairs.
We have the examples of the British Islands. Look at the British Islands. And even when you consider, take Anguilla. The British is not helping Anguilla, is not giving Anguilla funds, just like the French are doing, okay? So Antigua, all those little islands just like us that are independent today and are doing their own thing, they are experiencing their responsibility as human beings, as citizens.
Let me take a call for you. Oral Gibbs Live and caller. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. I would like to say, what Daniella said is true about the French side, because my mother was on the French side. And she used to say at a time, well, at least the Dutch side was with the South, but when she said too that the governor used to run the French side too, it was run like one island. A lot of people don't understand that. And we're using the guilders on the French side.
Up to
7. Because their French was not interested at that time as it is now.
Right.
She's right with that. The part about the history, France will teach us their history. Holland will teach us their history. But our own people is supposed to teach us our culture and what they went through life. And we were more independent then, as she said, than we are today. And, deep down, we know you don't get freedom like that. You have to die or something that happens. Otherwise from that, it may not happen in our time. No. But we will be free one of these days. But it won't come without a price. Because we have to fight the French and the Dutch. And that's my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, this is quite true, and I'm happy that we had somebody that understand. And when the more you understand the history, and the more you understand that we are human beings, and we need to get where we're supposed to get, and our emancipation. We're talking about emancipation decree, but if they are fighting us to remain under the domination of those nations, that is not right. Then there is no emancipation. Yeah. They should help us, because then we will not be, St. Martin will not be a burden either to Dutch, to France, but the agenda of those nations are totally different. The agenda is still to come, bring their people, and to keep the local people down.
You think they care about us? You think they really care about us?
No, they don't care about us. If they had care about us, they would develop it differently. They would give us the opportunity to go. They don't give us the opportunity. We wouldn't have all this employment. We wouldn't have them up to now. For the seasons, the hotels and so get all the young people to come down from France.
Really?
Yes.
On France and Martin?
Yes. Because they work for the 6 months, they don't register them. They got all the benefits from France, and unemployment benefits and all kinds of benefits.
Young people from St. Martin.
But they don't employ them. That's why they are on the blocks. That's why we get into more and more blocks.
Let me take a call for you. For Oral Gibbs Live, you want caller. Hello. You there, caller?
Hello, Mr. Gibbs.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Madam Jeffry also.
Good evening.
There is a lot of issues on the front side we love to talk about, but it's so much, I don't know where to begin. First of all is this €100 tax we have to pay to get the tax paper, which is, I find this is very ridiculous. And also, as you just talked about these French people bringing the people to work, yes, I've been on the French side a lot of time. Many places I pass, we have some restaurants also on the bayfront. They come from France with their own people.
Yeah.
We have the bakeries come from France with their own people. And also, we have businesses from Guadeloupe come from Guadeloupe with their own people. And we have to look over the discrimination. There's a lot of things going on the French side. We don't really like it. But there's nothing I can do. When you look at it, the economy is so bad. The St. Martiners, like the foreigners like me, cannot afford to buy bread. But when you look around Lowland, Orient Bay, people can live with swimming pool, driving big vehicles, Like Lowland right now, as a St. Martiner, you cannot go Lowland because it's private. I find somebody has to do something about it. Especially this €100 tax, it's killing people. It's some pay it, some don't pay it, and there's a lot of discrimination going on in the front. There's a lot of things to talk about, a lot. Discrimination is the number one. When you go look for a job, first thing they ask you if you're from there. This is my situation. I've been asked many times. People calling me when I put in my resume. First thing they do, they ask me if I'm from there. When I tell them no, and I ask why. They say because the St. Martiners are lazy. But those things have to stop. If we live in St. Martin, we have to respect the St. Martiners. Which is somebody has to do something about it. There's a lot of things to talk about. I don't know where to begin, but it's really bad.
All right. So anyway, thanks for calling. I'll have Ms. Jeffrey respond to some of your questions. All right?
Yes. So all of that is true. But when they tell you where you're from, that don't mean that they just give the priority to the St. Martiners. So St. Martiners are discriminated like anybody, and at whatever level. You could be an educated person, you are discriminated because they're going to bring somebody from France on you. They got all kinds of people coming from France to occupy the jobs in St. Martin.
Ms. Jeffrey, tomorrow is our St. Martin Day, November 11th. And I personally doesn't celebrate it anymore. I remember in 1990, at that time, I was head of the Government Information Service, and there was a problem between both sides. And I said, it was the best of times and the worst of times for St. Martin. But I personally will have nothing to do with St. Martin Day anymore. I'm extremely angry and disappointed in our elected officials on both sides of this island who get together every year on November 11th and say all kind of nice things, and then they walk away and they forget what they said.
Yeah. Well, that got to stop. And that's the reason why we are in the condition we have here, that it permitted the two nations to hijack us. They hijacking us in our economy. Maybe are you less because are you being in an autonomous situation, or you had more hold of doing things for yourself. But on the French side, there is nowhere where you can say the people of St. Martin exist. Okay, so it's discrimination everywhere, but I still feel that they have eliminated the spirit of St. Martin. And if we got to celebrate this, it has to be celebrated by the people of St. Martin. Even that, France is more celebrating the armistice, which is the end of the 1418 war. But our politician has just followed, because when you are a politician in a French system, you got to do what the French system telling you. There is no allegiance to the people. So that's why I say there is 3 entities, not 2. There is the people, and I think the people has to continue to do things the way they used to do it before we became attached to a regional center. We got to do it, else we are gone.
Ms. Jeffry, I wish we had 100 like you. But anyway, I want to thank you for coming. I want to wish you much success, and I hope we can have you back even before your next book.
Yes, yes, right? Yes. I hope so. And I will still wish the people of St. Martin not a happy, because it's so difficult to wish people happiness when things are so bad.
Right.
But to wish them to become aware that the St. Martin people, if they don't fight for being aware that you are a St. Martin people, if you don't fight for that, if you don't know your history, if you don't study on your own because the system doesn't permit you, well, we will not get where we want to get.
We are out of time.
Yes.
I want to thank you again and much success. And that's it for now. I'll see you next time. Till then, good night. Take care. Bye.